So, dear Dan, at age 17, you painted your first cover for a band, Lone Mower Death, followed by renowned Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel like a couple of years later. How was the
Yeah.
inception into the world of death metal artwork?
Well, you got it right. I mean, 1988, it was April, and I did the Lawnmower Death cover, and that's kind of, they're like a thrash joke kind of band, and then that album took about a year to get released, and in England it kind of got onto the word metal charts in the UK, and it kind of got, I think it got to number one for a week or something.
Yeah.
So it did get noticed, and that's how, and because Earache Records were local as well, based in Nottingham, and I was based just outside of Nottingham. So there was that was the connection. There were people who, you know, who I don't know, were hanging around at Earache Records or something.
Yeah.
Somehow that album and my name got around to Earache Records, and consequently I got invited to to drop by. So I took a few paintings in a portfolio, and one of them was almost finished or half finished, which was the painting that was used for Altars of Madness, ultimately. So that was, I mean, that was, you know, that was the first death metal record I did, and I guess that, I mean, I don't know how many albums it sold, but I think it did very well. And yeah, it made a splash. So 89, I was doing a lot of stuff for free. And then 90, so it took another year or something after Morbid Angel, 1990, Roadrunner Records. Somehow, I don't even know how, but somehow that I knew that they were interested in contacting me. And again, it's just this word of mouth thing, because this is way pre-internet.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think at that point I'd left home, and I didn't have a phone, and I ended up calling them collect from a phone booth, a phone box in England. This is 1990, and I called Roadrunner Records in New York from this phone box. So I did. I ended up doing. It was a compilation record, which turned out to be called. They used the title of the painting that I made, which was Death's Door. They called it At Death's Door. I don't know. Death's Door seemed like a kind of an appropriate concept. You know, not a great painting, but kind of, you know, it was sort of, it did the job, you know, and they liked it. And I went away for a couple of months after that traveling, but when I came back, they had more work for me. I think they were keen to do more stuff. So late that year, it was still 1990, I followed up with Malevolent Creation, the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, so then on and on it went. That kind of got the ball rolling initially anyway, which is other labels and other opportunities came forth for that sort of 89 to 94 period.
What can you tell us about your artistic education? Did you attend any school or academy while living in the UK?
Well, in England, you leave school. I don't know what it's like in Italy. In England, you leave school age 16, and then you either get a job or you go to college. I didn't do very well at school, so I did a pre-diploma in Mansfield. So there's an art college there called West Notts College, and I went there. It was basically 3 days of art, kind of graphic design. We did life drawing. They didn't really teach you how to paint or anything like that. It was the life drawing classes were pretty interesting. That was quite useful. That was a 10-month course, and then I didn't do very good at the art course. Actually, I got an E in art. Is the grade. They graded me E in art. So it was kind of useless in a way. But I did, you know, I drew, and I met other artistic people, and it kind of was interesting for a while.
Yeah, and how did your professional life change after moving to Canada?
You know, I've had my back and forth with the UK and Canada, UK and Canada. You know, but I've predominantly kind of settled these last 9 years, and I think actually, consequently, done some of my better work in these last 9 or so years. Consequently,
Yeah.
because I kind of really focused in on it.
I know it must be hard to answer, but are there any favorite album covers you have from your catalog, and why?
It is hard to answer. I probably get asked that. I have been asked that, of course, but yeah, I mean, probably. I mean, like I was saying, I think some of the stuff I've done in the last 10 years, people wouldn't agree with this because people who know my work do tend to gravitate to the older stuff, and I understand that because that's kind of the core era of that music scene in its initial incarnation. So I think you got to go with Clandestine because that is great. I probably would, if I did a book, I would probably have that on the cover, probably. And also that year, 1991, was, I think that was for me, and maybe even for that music scene, I think that was the one year that kind of focused everything in. I could be wrong, but I feel like 1991 was the actual middle of it. You know, that was the core year. And I did probably some of my more well-known covers then, you know, Ever Flowing Stream, Dismember, Pestilence, Testimony of the Ancients, Gorga, Clandestine by Entomb, Suffocation, Effigy of the Forgotten. And I did all of those within the first 6 months of that year. And the rest of the year I was actually off. I was kind of away. And I only did one more cover at the end of that year, which was for Monstrosity. But yeah, I think that's the year. So you could pick any of those. Clandestine, I think. Yeah. Maybe Effigy of the Forgotten. Yeah.
Are you fond of other artists into the heavy metal covers world?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to pronounce his name, but maybe I should do it. The Polish artist who I'm friends with him on Facebook, who does the Ghost covers. I'm not gonna pronounce his name. Yeah, I really like his work, actually. I think it's very meticulous and just, you know, there's a lot of, you know, I think it's very unique, and I can see the influences. There's some Art Deco in there and that kind of thing.
10 minutes ago, we were talking about phone booths, and you directed the short-length movie Shadowline. Will you do something similar in the future?
Yeah, I would like to, but you know what? That film... Yes, it was a phone booth, but was featured in that. Maybe that's a hangover from my first commission. With Roadrunner Records. I would like to. Yeah, I really loved that experience. I mean, I've made some other short films just by myself with, you know, which didn't have a budget or a crew exactly. You know, you kind of cobble things together. But that one actually had a crew, and it had a budget from the Film Council of the UK, and it had a couple of producers managing that budget, so they brought people in. You know, there was real casting down in London. I went to Jerry Zimmerman casting agency, and it was very enjoyable. I just loved it. But you know, to do that with a crew, that's kind of that's on another level. Like, you know, to be able to do that, you know, I'd have to write a script. I would have to pitch the script to a production company. But you know, to make a short film by myself, I would love to do that again. You know, just as an art piece, as a kind of an experimental thing. It's quite enjoyable.
Which advices would you give to younger artists who want to work in this weird digital era?
Oh, I don't know if I've ever given advice. If I've ever given advice, I think you know, you just got to do the thing that you want to do. That's all, and you've got to, you know, whatever your medium is, you got to be comfortable with the medium. So for me, I like painting with actual paints. I have taught myself digital painting in Photoshop with a Wacom tablet. It's kind of fun, but I wouldn't do it as a thing to kind of to sell as a record cover or as a commission. I wouldn't do it. Like for me, it was more like trying it out, and yeah, it's kind of interesting. So I mean, for other people, they've got to just follow what medium they feel comfortable with. And in terms of marketing yourself, I mean, gosh, yeah, it's difficult. So, but I mean, you know, social media. I mean, if you're good, and you use social media, there's a different way to kind of get your work out there. I mean, you can always approach record labels. You can approach potential clients. It's, you know, there's nothing stopping anyone from approaching a record label or a book publisher. I mean, I've done that in the past.
It's still a business in which you can work.
Yeah, you can talk to an art director. You can get, you know, you can introduce yourself, get hold of an email, write a letter. Send it in. But it's kind of easy, you know. Here's a link to my webpage or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
So
which final message and greeting would you send out to the Italian fans of Dan Seagrave?
How many are there?
A lot.
A couple. There's two.
No,
well,
no, many.
Well, I mean, I don't like to assume, you know. I don't know. There could be. I just say hello, thanks, and, you know, I really appreciate anybody who's interested in what I do. I mean...
That would be great to have an exhibit. That would be great to have you with an exhibit or something one day.
I would love to do an exhibition if you know a venue. I mean, I think that the thing with record covers, I would say it's harder to do an exhibition of those because none of them are framed. They're all kind of stored away. But and there's a bigger issue with, you know, getting things framed and shipped and insured and all of those elements. But like a smaller art show, other kinds of work, you know, personal project or something. Yeah, totally. I'd love to do that.